Hey there YouTube, Speedrobo here, and today I have a generic world chess deck profile. But Speedrobo, you might be saying, there is no generic world, and you're right. However, every card in this deck is generic, so you can use any flag you want with this deck, it will not matter. So right now I'm using Parade of 100 Demons. So the buddy is Keen the Dominator. Let's jump right in. To start, let's talk about the impacts. They are the meat of this deck. I run 4 copies of Keen the Dominator Endgame. It really is your endgame. A 6/2/3 size 3 impact monster, call cost, put a chess from your drop into this card's soul, and pay 2 gauge. When this card enters the field, if there are 5 or more different chests in your drop zone, your opponent's life becomes 4. When a chess on your field attacks, for this turn this card gets double attack. So it gives every card on your field double attack, and it sets your opponent's life to 4. While that's good on its own, it is best comboed with Checkmate, the original generic impact. You may only cast this card if you do not have a center, your opponent does not have a center, you have 5 or more different chests in the drop zone, and your opponent's life is 4 or less. Attack with a standing chest on your field. If you deal damage to your opponent with the attack, you win the game. So it's an instant game win, an alternative win condition. This is how you're going to want to kill your opponent. Let's go into size zeros. 4 copies of Pawn the Promotion, a 3/1/1 size 0. When this card enters the field, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, put up to 1 chess monster or impact from among them into your hand, and put the rest into the drop zone. This card can also attack during the final phase, so it combos well with Endgame. This is how you draw cards, search, mill, and set up for Checkmate. If you don't have this card in your opening hand, you're in for a rough game. Size 1's next. 2 copies of Soldier Pawn, 2 copies of Flying Bishop, and 2 copies of Night Fighter. Why am I showing them all at the same time? Because they're all vanilla monsters with less than vanilla stats. Back when Generic World first came out, they were destined to lose the numbers game. They had the crappiest units ever, and they still have the crappiest units to this day. So why even bother running them at all? Well, you need the different chests in your drop zone for anything to even work, so here you go. Different chests. And the last size 1 is a card that's actually good. 4 copies of Combat Unit Guardian Rook, a chess monster that's good, you say. Well, he's also a vanilla, but his stats are 4/0/5. That meaty attack and delicious defense make him a card worth playing. You never need to deal damage to your opponent to win the game. You'll be setting their life to 4 and instantly ending the game with Checkmate. So the 0 crit doesn't matter. He is there to buy you time to find your Pawn the Promotions, to get your engine running. And he is great at it. Size 2's. 4 copies of Control Unit Suppression Queen, another decent chess monster. Her stats are 4/2/3. She's a size 2, which kind of sucks, but the stats are good enough to pick some monsters off your opponent's field, have something that resembles a defense. She's not bad. And the last monster in the deck, 4 copies of the buddy, Keen the Dominator. This card is bad. Call cost of 2 gauge and put a chest from the drop into the soul. 6/3/3 size 3 with Soul Guard, and that's it. Those stats are abysmal. So you might be asking, well, why bother running him as the buddy then? And the answer is, for this deck, I don't actually recommend using him as the buddy. I would go with Pawn the Promotion. The reason why I still use Keen the Dominator as my buddy is because chess was the first deck I ever built. It was what got me interested in buddy fight in the first place, and I knew that out of Booster Set 1, the world I wanted to play was generic. Be darned if its cards were bad. I was going to main it, and I have kept him as my buddy to this day, so I run him as the buddy in this deck because he was my first ever buddy, and he holds special meaning to me. But for deck building purposes, run Pawn the Promotion as the buddy. Seriously, guys, just forget this. Spells are the last thing in this deck, so let's talk about them. We've got 3 copies of Celtic Cross Spread. This is a card that exists to spam Pawn the Promotion. Cast cost, pay 1 gauge, call a size 2 or less generic monster from your drop by paying its call cost. So, call Pawn the Promotion, check the top 3, 1 to hand, rest to drop, call Pawn the Promotion on top of Pawn the Promotion goes to drop, do that Pawn the Promotion, Celtic Crossbred, bring back Pawn the Promotion, on top of Pawn the Promotion, do it again, Celtic Cross, do it again, Celtic Cross, win game. That's how it works. Then we run 1 copy of Skewer and 1 copy of Pawn Storm. The reason why these are in the deck is because they have the chess attribute, and we need 5 different chess. Occasionally these can be helpful, but usually they just go straight into drop. 4 copies of Gambit, a generic world chess spell so good, Bushiroad had to errata nerf it. Return all of your monsters from the field to your hand, and since it's been errated, you can only cast this once per turn. So why is this good? Call 3 Pawn the Promotion, Gambit, bring them back, call them again. That's why it's good. You won it at 4. Next, we have 3 copies of Buddy Charge. As of right now, Buddy Charge is the best generic world charge spell, because we haven't gotten some of the generic world promo support that Japan has. We don't have Kill Order, and we don't have Chess Magic. Once Chess Magic comes out, this is getting taken out for Chess Magic. There's no contest. But for right now, Buddy Charge is the best that we have, so I'm running it. And this spell is broken. Chess Energy. Cast cost of 2 gauge. Counter. For this turn, give a monster on your field +1/+1 and counterattack. Then, if that card is a chess, give it +3/+3 more. Choose a monster on your field, pay 2 gauge. For this turn, that card gets +4/+4 and counterattack. Put that on King or Rook, and you have ended your opponent's turn. They're going to have to throw everything they've got to get that off the field, and they will lose monsters for it. This card this card is what makes chess. It made chess back when it came out, and it allows you to buy time to find your pawns to get that kill. This card is legitimately overpowered. And the last spell in the deck, 4 copies of Benefit. I've said this before, I'll say it again. If you don't have your benefits, get them now while you can. This is going to be another barbed wire situation, mark my words, because this is not getting a reprint. Cast cost. Put a size 2 or less monster from your field into your drop zone. Counter. Charge 1, heal 2. Amazing generic card. This card can go into pretty much any deck and work great. So, it's great in here. Now, let's talk strategies behind the deck. So, the strat is that this deck is built for the FTK. If you start strong with Pawn the Promotion, and then, you get 1 Gambit, maybe 2 Celtic Crossbred, or even just 1 Celtic Crossbred, and your Pawn the Promotion mills are good, that you find your impacts right out of the gate, and then you've got your 5 chess in the drop, you are just going to mow your opponent down, because Checkmate is an auto win, and you only have to attack once to do it. So, there you go. That's pretty much it. This is a very straightforward deck. You want to find Pawn the Promotion, you want to spam it as much as you can every single turn, and then hit your opponent with impacts. Now, if you were to make this deck less of a meme deck, and not, just a generic world deck, and you wanted to make it a real deck using a real flag and Tekken support from that, I do have some recommendations for you. First, you could look at Dragon World, because you can run one of the Thunder Empire impacts, and when you set your opponent's life to 4, you will be able to get off your attack numbers just with King the Dominator, because he has the double attack. So you should be able to get off your attack numbers no problem. And then you hit your opponent with that impact, you deal them damage, it can't be reduced, can't be nullified. Stuff like that. And that since they're at 4, it's going to be a game win. So Dragon World's a possibility. The downside to that is that gauge charging is a little bit hard to do in Dragon World unless you are like committed into one archetype or the other. And since you have to include the chest, that's going to be a little bit tricky. But there are, just your charge 2 spells, so you could try running those and that might work out. The other world I recommend is Katana World, and this one is going to be harder for people who haven't been playing the game for a while and who haven't stockpiled Katana World stuff, because the number 1 card you need from Katana World is the spell Null. 2 life, nullify a spell. Now, why is that good? Well, it's good because Checkmate goes into a battle, and in that battle, your opponent can nullify it. But you can also nullify their nullify, and then it makes Checkmate a guaranteed game win effectively because your opponent can't use a spell to nullify it. So you throw down Checkmate after you do end game. Their life is now 4. Hit them with Checkmate. Your opponent's like, aha, Blue Dragon Shield. Aha, no, Demon Way Sakura Fubuki. Your spell's nulled. You take damage. I win. But the downside to that is that you are still vulnerable to big, bulky centers that you can't get around, because chess can't hit for numbers. There's no way to do it. So you're vulnerable to Soul Guard, but you aren't vulnerable to the Nullify. The other downside is that Demon Way Sakura Fubuki is kind of hard to get your hands on. It's sold out pretty much everywhere, so you have to buy boxes of set 2 to get it. Good news is it is a common, so if you buy a box, you're pretty much guaranteed at least 2. So Katana World's another world option, and the Spell Null option is still valid for Magic World, Hero World, and Legend World. I think some other world might have a Spell Null, and it's escaping me, but any world that you can tech in a Spell Null would work well for chess. Just make sure that you keep your gauge up. That's why I feel like Katana World's the best, because it doesn't require the gauge. And I believe that's all for the deck profile today. I've been Speedrobo. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, drop them down below. I'd love to hear from you. So, see you later.